Well, at long last, the film that Gina Carano joined with the Daily Wire to make, Terror on the Prairie, has arrived. There's a lot going into this because of what happened to her over at Disney and Lucasfilm, where not only did they just fire her, which they could have just done, no, they sought to destroy this woman's name. They smeared her and lied about her. And it was just absolutely awful. So right off the bat, of course, I signed up for Daily Wire because I wanted to support this because I thought this was a great wrong done to this woman and all of that. And I didn't know what they were going to do. Eventually you found out it was going to be this Western and all this sort of stuff. And they put it all together. And the idea was that, look, you're just going to have to do your own stuff to compete with these weirdos who have taken control of Hollywood entertainment, and since then you can see the damage from within Disney and what it's doing to it. It's just rotting and killing the company. So with all that going through, it was like I'm already in support of Miss Carano and her endeavors without having seen anything of the film, and then eventually there was a trailer released and that looked pretty intriguing and all of that. And so finally I got to see it and watched it. Now, I haven't seen, the only other Daily Wire film I've seen is Shut In, and I recently did that review rather. Sorry, I'm under the weather. I'm going to make all kind of mistakes. Just bear with me. But I wanted to do the review as soon as I could, after having seen the film. But anyway, and it's a good film. There's some flaws in it, I thought, and I pointed those out. But all in all, I thought it was pretty good. The other two I haven't seen yet, but I will. But now, Terror on the Prairie, with Gina Carano, is the latest and probably the one that gets the biggest notice and whatnot because of all the stuff, which bolsters the film in a lot of ways. But you have to judge it based on what it is. If none of this had happened and she just did this project, how would you see it? Well, it's pretty good. Does it blow me away? A lot of stuff gets blown away, but not entirely. But it's pretty good. It's better than Shut In was. Shut In has got some great moments of horror and whatnot, and there's some similarities. This is a Western, but it's pretty scary considering the situation that Carano's character is in. And it's an interesting departure for she's thought of as this action hero type character, which she did well. But here, she's rather reluctant to it. Her character is rather depressed with the situation. She's living out in the wilderness. Her husband's trying to make a go of them owning their own property and all this sort of stuff. And she's reached a breaking point where she's a city girl, and she kind of wants to get back to civilization, and she wants to give up on this. And an incident happens where these Native American people show up, and what they need is help, but there's a language barrier, and she's terrified. She's alone. She doesn't know what they're up to, but she's able to help them with this woman who's injured, and she does well. And they're trying to tell her thank you. I guess I don't know if he's the chieftain or whatnot, but the older man that seems to be leading the group, he gives her a gift, and he's trying to tell her that, they're grateful for what she did and all of that. Now, the gift, of course, plays a significant role later, and you can imagine how. But I thought that this was setting up something that perhaps the tribe would come to her rescue. But that didn't happen. It doesn't really blow it away or anything, because the gift itself was a knife. And so she, well, that's going to come in handy. And boy, does it. So the rest of it is, the villains are seeking revenge. This based on what happened in the Civil War. Her husband was in the Union. The villains were, or at least their leader certainly was, in the Confederacy. And he's been seeking revenge. We see him. We have brutal revenge on apparently another guy from the Union Army that was a part of this incident that happened with his daughter. It was a mistake, an accident. It was not, which is my thing. There's scenes where you think you're going to find out that Gina's husband is a piece of crap, but there's a lot of scenes that, no, he's a decent, honest man. Despite temptations thrown at him and whatnot, he doesn't give in to that. So she's left alone. That's the deal with her young son and infant daughter, and she has to fend off everything. And boy, you can just imagine that having to go through this onslaught from these guys that would finally say, yeah, I want out of here. I don't want to stay here anymore. But no. And the reason for that is she's put through the ringer here, even when her husband returns and they team up together to take them on and all that. But she finds her, her strength and will to live and fight for everything. And to give it up now after all that would probably be insulting to the whole ordeal. So she does it, at the end, you see them rebuilding their home and everything. So there's a lot of, I've only seen two, so I'm saying it's the better of the two. And there's a lot of great stuff in it. Her performance is good. The only, I guess, a flaw in it would be that there's several moments of the shootout where there's no way you would have taken that shot, and on both sides, it's like there's no way you missed that, and stuff like that. In some cases, except perhaps these weren't well made guns, so the aiming would be off, perhaps. But that's about it, really. That's the only flaw there, as best that I can point out. And everything else, it's performed well. A lot of it seems like, they had every chance to kill her. They could have done this. They could have done that. But as the leader of the group says, no, I want her alive. And he has his reasons for that. This is about his revenge and whatnot. And ultimately, it's all about her husband and the revenge he wants on him. And so that's why he wanted more suffering than just death, So that's how that plays out. And even with the shooting flaw I got, there's some amount of explanation to it, I guess. And I just have to assume it. But that's about it. So all in all, well done. Following the lesson of less is more. She's isolated in there, so they have this location they could utilize to its fullest extent to shoot there from. There's a few other scenes where the husband goes into town, so you get some of that. But other than that, that's it. It stays right there. It's similar to what Shut In did and managed to accomplish something great. So, and a very well shot, framing and all of that, very well done. I mean, I've been enormously critical of the Kenobi show recently, because quite a bit of framing mistakes and positions and angles to take of how to cover up sloppiness and stuff, just really bad. Here, there's none of that. This thing is picturesque. I can't even speak. But just the landscape shots, it is all beautiful and very well done. And so, yeah, this is a good debut for a new chapter in Miss Carano's career. It'll be interesting to see what else she wants to do beyond this. Because even though you say, oh, well, it's still an action movie with she's having to defend the home against these outlaws and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's something, but not quite like it was before. And she's a very vulnerable character, and she's had a breaking point, and she doesn't want to live there anymore. She's very upset about it. And then this sort of baptism by fire, and she fought so very hard for her children, really. But the whole idea, this is her home. This is, and she fought for it to, almost to the bitter end there. And so, and what she has to go through to get there and to save her husband too. And so, it's it's credible. It makes sense that, yeah, so now she's going to stay and they're going to rebuild and they're, going to be stronger than they were before and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I recommend it if you are a subscriber to Daily Wire. If you're not, you want to see it, that's how you do it. And it's certainly the whole Daily Wire enterprise on this move they've made is certainly an intriguing, interesting thing to behold. And so far, so good. These are not slap job crap works of films that just, preach to you. No, they're not. This was a very rather classic old West movie. So, well, good for Gina and good for Daily Wire. And I do recommend it.